Hello, friends, my dear students. Myself, Vandre Sheetal from Rayat Shikshan Sanstha, Dada Patil Mahavidyalay, Karzat. Our Rayat Shikshan Sanstha has run a wide program related to NEET, CET, and JEE. The president, honorable president of our Rayat Shikshan Sanstha, Mr. Sharad Chandraji Pawar Sahib, the whole working committee, the ideal of our Ravach Shikshan Sanstha chairman, that is Chandrakant Dalvi Sahib, the organizer of Ravach Shikshan Sanstha, Honorable Patil Sahib, and the vice chairman of Ravach Shikshan Sanstha, that is respected Bhagirat Shinde Sahib, and the core committee of the Ravach Shikshan Sanstha, which is going to run this NEET JEE CT program. We all are thankful for this NEET CET program because they have given us a chance to represent the some topics related to NEET CET. The topic given for NEET CET, that is the biodiversity conservation and environmental issue. When we have observed the some question papers related to the NEET CET in the previous year, definitely we are finding the 2 to 3 questions are asked related to this biodiversity, related to conservation and environmental issue. The biodiversity word, we know that here what is the meaning of that? The bio means the living, diversity means the variation, and that variation you have to study in this chapter. What are the effect related to the environment in this biodiversity, that also we are going to show. This biodiversity, it is the variety of the life present on the earth surface. The biodiversity, it is the part of the nature which include the differences in the gene among the individual of a species, the variety and richness of plants, animal species at the different scales in a space, local region, country and the world. The ecosystem, both the maybe terrestrial, aquatic, desert, that different we are going to see in the coming. The term biodiversity, who have coined this? The Walter Rosen in 1982. They have firstly coined the term biodiversity. Near about over 3.5 billion years of evolutionary history have been recorded in this biodiversity. Now, which are the levels of the biodiversity we have to study? Here, genetic diversity, species diversity, and the ecosystem diversity. These three different levels we have to study in this. Here, this diagram shows which different levels of the biodiversity present in a nature and how they plays the role. This genetic word is related to as the genes, the species differently, and the ecosystems, that is the various ecosystems are present. This genetic diversity, it is the intraspecific diversity in that number and types of the genes as well as the chromosomes present in the species, and also the variations of the genes, variation of the species, alleles, that we have to see in here. That includes the variation of the population also, and in between that the geographical factor is also affecting for that genetic variation. But when we are going to study a single species on the earth surface, for example the human is having a constant chromosome number, and the another example onion, that is the 16 constant chromosome number. If you are studying the Drosophila melanogaster small insect, that is the 4, it is the constant chromosome number present all over. But this variation it appear in the color, height, their physiological appearance. The greater diversity here we can be observed near about the 10,000 varieties of the mangoes and 15,000 varieties of the rice, wheat. They have developed by the scientists. Their chromosome number is not get changed, But due to the rDNA technology, recombinant DNA technology, we are inserted that such a type of the genes in this variety that our acceptation. For example, the increasing population of India that require a huge amount of wheat production, and for that here the green revolution concept has been originated, and this green revolution, it shows the chromosome number not change in wheat, but the yield is get increased, and that increasing yield it present in the only some regions of the India, some states, not all over grown here. Here this diagram, it shows the some eukaryotic cell, prokaryotic cell, and their differences related to only the genes, related to the genetic variation. Here that prokaryotic cell, that one it is the eukaryotic cell here. But whatever the nucleus present inside that, this shows when you are going to study the detailed genetic map of that animal, of that plant, that shows definitely here the variation is there. That diagram here, it also shows the ultrastructure. But if you are to inserted or you are identifying the genes, and this gene is dominant gene, if you are inserted in that crop, in that plant, you can definitely shows the variation. For example, if you are to inserted a tall resistant gene, you are to inserted the stress resistant gene, if you are to inserted the salt resistant gene, definitely with the rDNA technology we are going to insert it and developing a new variety. Here, the another example, that is the Rauwolfia ometeria. Here, this plant, it secrete a respirin, which is a produce an extract which is a well tolerated. That plant is mostly observed in the Himalayan region. But here the element which is excreted from that, it is the same. Now the species diversity. Here the number of species of plants and animals which are present in a region constitute its species diversity, because the geographical region, it is related to that species variation. This species richness, it deals with the varieties of the species as well as the number of individual of different species which are observed in the different localities. For example, the amphibian species diversity which are finding more in the Western Ghat, in Eastern Ghat region. Here some diagrams we have showing the species diversity. Here the vegetation, the climate, appearance of the plants, destruction, animals. These species diversity is depending on the locality where that species grow, where they may remain dominant, where they remain the recessiveness. Here, Earth, it is a huge, and due to this geographical barrier, due to this climate separation, geographical separation, a single area, it consists of a large number of species grown in a single area. That variety is get observed, that diversity is get observed. Now the ecosystem diversity. Here, it is related to different types of the ecosystem, that is the habitat within a given geographical area. There are a large variety of ecosystem on the earth having their own complement and distinctive interlinked species based on differences in the habitat. How many different types of the ecosystems? As we know, here in India also, in all over the world also, the different types of the ecosystems that we are going to observe. Here, the tropical rainforest is one, temperate rainforest, boreal rainforest, desert, sauna, grassland, marine, freshwater, tundra. These different types of the ecosystems are observed on the world. As for example, here the desert ecosystem is there. The plants which require the less scarcity of water, they can be grow there. The animals requires the less water, they can be grow at that ecosystem. Marine ecosystem, those they are having, they can complete grow their life cycle in the aquatic zone. these are preferring here the marine ecosystem. The remaining terrestrial, the animals, we are also the terrestrial, we are going to complete our life cycle on the land surface. Here, just like that, the various ecosystems have been observed. Here, this graph, it shows the which is the highest diversity region present in India. The started from Western Ghat, that is the highest biodiversity rich region present in the India, which are having a large varieties of the plants, as well as we are also finding the large varieties of animals. And Himalayan region, it is also the another example present in India that shows a wide variety of the ecosystem diversity. Here, the another example that we are observing here, the run of Kutch present in the Gujarat region, they preferring the desert ecosystem. Now, which are the patterns of biodiversity present? Here, the pattern of biodiversity, it related to the two concept, that is the latitudinal diversity and the altitudinal diversity. This position here you are finding the equatorial line, and the biodiversity is always rich towards the equatorial position. As we goes towards the north pole as well as towards the south pole, automatically due to climatic condition, the animal diversity and species diversity along with their number slowly goes on decreasing, because for the normal routine, normal life, and the completion of the life cycle, these whole the plants and animals, they are required a well temperature, well adaptation also. Therefore, that diversity during the altitudinal level, they will be decreasing automatically. This altitudinal level, this diagram here also showing the which region is having the highest number of species and which region is having a lowest number of species. The marked here, they are showing near about this color, violet and red, they are showing the richest region of the biodiversity. They are preferring here the large varieties of the various species are observed. Now here, this graph indicates the species area relationship. That suppose a small area is there, automatically the small number of species they are grown. And if the area is increasing, the automatically the number of the species that will be get increasing. Here, this graph, that is the increasing graph here they are showing, that is the when area is increases, automatically that shows the number of the species, it will be get increases here. Now come towards here, the productivity stability and Rivett-Popper hypothesis. The rich diversity that leads to lesser variation in biomass production, that is called as the productivity stability hypothesis. And the Paul Enrich, that was the ecologist, he have suggested that the analogy which gives the significance of the biodiversity, that was proposed by the Rivett-Popper hypothesis. This shows that it is used to explain the importance of biodiversity in ecosystem. It likes an ecosystem in an airplane, and individual species to rivet hold the airplane togetherly. This hypothesis, they may be suggest the removal of the species gradually, that ecosystem leads to the in maybe stability and the collapsing. Here, that scientists here, they have explained this Rivett-Popper hypothesis, that is the various number of species present in an ecosystem and how they are showing the coordination with that ecosystem. Here this graph here showing the biodiversity, their current scenarios. Now, which are the reasons present in nowadays why the biodiversity get lost, Why? They are affecting changing the various numbers. The habitat loss and fragmentation, overexploitation, alien species invasion, co-extinction, and climate change. Here, these are the regions because of the biodiversity that will be get lost. Here, what is the habitat loss? The deforestation, it is a one of the major reason. Because of that, the automatically the number of plant species that will be get decreases. The number of animal species, they are going to in the extinct endangered category because of the removal of or cutting of the forest. It is no, obviously that is the human interference, these all the things takes place. That over exploitation, it shows that is the maximum number of the animals, maximum number of the plant species, they may be get inserted here. The basically the human that is having a tendency to accumulate their need, that result to the over exploitation. The alien species invasion, that shows here the ecosystem accidentally or intentionally, they shows the chances to improve or insert a new species in the ecosystem. If the maximum number of varieties that will be get inserted, automatically they shows the upcoming new species invasion. The co-extinction, that leads to the organism which associated with the other obligatory way, that the extinction is one of the variety which leads to loss of associate variety from the ecosystem. For example, extinction of fishes, they shows the co-extinction. For example, the dinosaurs which are present in the Jurassic region, Jurassic period, but still now they are not present because of the changing climate. The highest gymnospermic plant which are having near about 300 to 400 feet height, these gymnospermic plant now not present due to the change in the climate. Here, these are also showing the human interference, why the biodiversity that will be get lost. The habitat or exploitation, again the climate change. The one addition point is there, that is the pollution. These pollution may be related to the loss of biodiversity. Here. Now, according to the IUCN, these some categories has been get included related to whole the planty kingdom, whole the animal kingdom, whatever the flora and flora present from the earth origin, that line of evolution, which plant remain, which will be get extinct, which are in the endangered category, which are in the threatened category, they shows that terminology proposed by this IUCN. The one is the extinct, that extinct it is designation applied to species in which the last individual has been get died, which is not recorded. Now the extinct in the wild category, containing those species whose number survive only in the captivity. This critically endangered category, they showing the species that possess extremely the high risk of extinction. Endangered category, that shows here the species that possess a very high risk of extinction of a rapid population decline of 50 to more than 70% near about in the last 10 years. Now the vulnerable species, this vulnerable, it is a category containing those species that possess a very high risk of extinction, which result a rapid population of a decline 30 or more 50% all over the world. Near threatened, that shows here the species that are close to upcoming threatened or maybe meet the criteria threatened status near the feature. Least concern, a category containing species that are pursued and abundant after a careful assessment. Data deficient, a condition applied to species in which the unfavorable data related to this risk extinction that will be get lack. Not evaluated, a category used to include here near about 1.9 million species described by the scientists, and they are assessed by this IUCN. Here that color showing, which shows in the danger zone, which are in the extinct, they are not present, they are completely get in dyed content. Here they are present in the stage of extinction. Here they are so at the endangered category, the vulnerable, near threatened, least concerned, data deficient, and not evaluated. As we know that the near about many species still they are not evaluated. A red data book is a one concept. In that red data book, here the all the extinct species they are get inserted. Now come towards here the conservation. As we know that here the what is the conservation? Conserve means to preserve. What you have to preserve? You have to preserve the plants, you have to preserve the animals, because we have to protect them to go into the extinct and endangered category. Which are the different methods for the preservation of these plants as well as the animals? The two methods are there: in situ conservation and ex situ conservation. In this in situ conservation, the protection of an organism will takes place in its natural habitat. That is, here the national park, wildlife sanctuary, biosphere reserve, sacred groves. These are the examples of the in situ conservation, where maybe we have shown here near about the roadside region, the protected forest are there in the form of Devrahi, Vanrahi. These are the examples given that the in situ conservation. The Western Ghat, the Eastern Himalayan region, these are also required for the protection. They are automatically get protected. The useful species that is in the natural habitat comes under the in situ conservation. And what is about the ex situ? You have to protect the animals, protect the plants apart from their natural habitat. You have to collect these from their natural habitat and preserve in an artificially prepared area. The zoological park, botanical gardens, gene banks, and cryopreservation. These are the methods where you have to protect these apart from their natural habitat. Here, some are the examples related to the preservation of the animals, preservation of the plants. These some national parks present in the India, present in the world, some wildlife sanctuaries, they are showing the preservation. The botanical garden, zoological park, these are the examples of the ex situ conservation. Now, the Biodiversity Conservation Act. Here, that Biodiversity Protection Act 2002 was born out of India's attempt to realize the objective enriched in the United Nations Convention of Biological Diversity in 1992, which recognized the here severe right of state to use their own biological resources. This act is related to these three basic things, that is the National Biodiversity Authority, State Biodiversity Board, and Biodiversity Management Committee. All these togetherly they are working for protection of this Biodiversity Act, because the government always give us a suggestion and they are always put forth a new plan to protect the wildlife, to protect the forest. And being a human, being a Indian civilization, our responsibility is that to protect the nature, because if globe is protected, then our generation, next generation will be definitely get protected. Now, here related to conservation, that is a very ideal example in front of you in the form of the Rahibai Popere. That lady, though it is illiterate, but she know that how to preserve the nature, how to preserve, in Marathi we call Gauran varieties. And that lady have preserved some seeds from these local variety, and he are going to preserve it for the next generation. For this conservation, that Rahibai Popere, he has awarded the Nari Shakti Puraskar also, Padma Shri Puraskar also, and BBC 100 Women. These different the awards given by the government. Here, what she has done here, she has developed and preserved the wild varieties of brinjal, guava, mango, spinach, methi, millets, pulse, hyacinth beans, and peas. She gives here these preserved seeds to the farmers and told them to grow in the field condition, again preserve for their next generation. Now come towards here, which are the different environmental issues. These environmental issues, they are nothing but the problems that affecting the planet's natural system, encompassing a wide range of challenges like the climate change here, then pollution, deforestation, biodiversity loss. These all and some are related to the human activities. Now the next concept, that is the air pollution. This diagram, what it shows? It shows which are the sources of air pollution. That is industry, the vehicles, the smoke which comes from the industries, and the carbon component which are comes leads from the various types of the factories. These all are the sources of the air pollution. The another is also the pollen grains. The some persons, they are having an allergy of the pollen grains. The elements which exhaust from the silicon companies, that is the asbestosis fiber, silicosis fibers, and the some cotton companies, the cotton factories that related the thread, they are also responsible for the air pollution problem. Which are the effect of the air pollution? Or apart from that, the some content, that is the carbon dioxide, the gaseous pollutant, that is the CO2, SO2 here, NO2, these are also responsible to cause the air pollutions. Now, how we are going to control this air pollution? That is, it is the electrostatic precipitator. It is one of the apparatus, or it is one of the device which helps to control the particulate matter present in the thermal power plant. Near about 99% that will be get captured. The exhaust gas scrubber, it is used to clean the air for both dust and gases, passing it through dry or wet packing material. It can remove the gases like the SO2. In the scrubber, the exhaust is passed through a spray of water or lime. The catalytic converter, the motor vehicle which are inserted with that catalytic converter, that should be unleaded petrol, because of leads in the petrol inactive the catalyst. Now, which are the four wheelers and two wheelers run on the ground surface? Naturally, the companies, they have inserted or put forth a various machines to reduce the air pollution. Now the BS6, one of the engine that will be today, the companies, they are going to insert it because they have to reduce the air pollution. Now the second is the noise pollution. According to who, near about only the 65 decibel noise we can be heard. But if that volume it will be get increases, definitely they are harmful to the ear of the human. And if the volume is about the 120 decibel, that will be the painful. Which are the sources of the noise pollution? As we know that in the our daily or day routine life here, the horns, the signals from the factories, from the industries. Here, the DJ, music system, sound system, they are creating that noise pollution. Here. Now, the next, water pollution. The sources of water pollution. Here, this diagram indicates that which are the sources of the water pollution. Here, the waste from the household, then waste from the industries, the waste from the agriculture, these indirectly the water goes to the large sea river, and therefore they are creating the water pollution here. How we are going to prevent this water pollution? That is, water pollution, it will be get protected when the useful substances they have to get added, and unwanted substances it may be get removed. The chemical fertilizers, instead of that we can be use here the biofertilizers, and if they are get thrown along with that aquatic ecosystem, that does not cause any effect on the aquatic ecosystem. Whatever the chemicals run from that industry, they are including the waste product in the form of the sulfur dioxide, in the form of the nitrogen oxide. If the government has given the instruction to these companies to reduce the percentage when they are thrown in the water, automatically that is one of the way that we can be avoid or to stop these aquatic pollution also.